I get it. You operate a business in the horse industry and you know you need to be online to grow your business, but you're overwhelmed at the process and you might not even have an idea where to start. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're listening to the Digital Hoofprint Podcast, a podcast that shares strategy, resources, and motivation for you to grow your horse business online. My name is Abriana, and I am a business coach, brand strategist, and designer that works with equine entrepreneurs who are struggling with their online presence. I transform grade horse businesses into industry unicorns. And if you're listening to this podcast, you must be ready to establish your digital hoofprint. Whether you're listening to this while cleaning stalls or after a long day working horses, I'm breaking down this process into digestible nuggets so you can take them and apply them to your business today. Thanks so much for listening again, and let's get into today's episode. Hey friends, got my tech aligned. This is working. I appreciate that. Alrighty. So I was like, I'm going to go live at 2:00, but then I realized I was itching and just sitting here and vibrating. So I was like, you know what? We're going live right now. Going live right now. Today I'm starting the newest kind of subject in my content series, whatever you want to call it, on work life balance, or as I like to call it, life work balance, because who the heck is putting work first and actually achieving this balance, right? Obviously, this is me, Abriana Johnson, head unicorn in charge over at Black Unicorn Creative. And I wanted to start this series at the end of August. And so I sat down and I said, all right, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to share with people about life work balance and how to achieve this thing? Because I had gone through, I edited the planner, I was working on Cowgirl Cameron books, I was doing all of these things. But as I sat down to write, my email series and social media content and stuff, because I like to batch things out, I realized that it would be just a little hypocritical of me to bring up this subject without actually practicing it. So I was sitting there and I had a mental block and I was like, all right, what can I say? What can I tell them? Like, how can we even start talking about this topic if you haven't, gone through and tried to do that work and see what that transformation looks like, so that you can, put forth the best, content and suggestions possible. Because I kind of understood, what it's supposed to look like, what this balance is supposed to look like. But I had to take a second and say, am I achieving it? Libra's in the house, balance is our jam, right? So I had to take a second and say, okay, is this what I am currently practicing? And the answer was no. I was sitting at my desk from like 7 to 4. This is my desk situation. And then after I cooked dinner, I was on my computer in my room till, who knows when. I was, not going outside, not really walking my dogs like that, just trying to grind some stuff out, and to get things produced. And I was like, okay, this is how I notice that this is not working for me, because I'm not seeing the fruits of my labor. I'm putting in more labor than I have in the past, and the return is just not there. It's not coming as quickly as I hope. Granted, when you plant seeds, you gotta wait for some time to harvest them. But it was like grind, hustle, hustle, hustle. And from my conversations with different professionals in the horse industry, that is one of the biggest issues. Like, what is your biggest challenge when you look at running your business in the horse industry? And it's work-life balance. Working with horses anyway, like, they don't care about your balance. They say, give me some food now, or turn me out so I can eat now. They don't care about stuff like that. So it's up to us to care about it and to acknowledge it and to say, okay, these are the strategies that I can put in place to alleviate the stress that comes from being in balance, or make sure that I know when this is going to happen so I can plan for some downtime. So when I took this understanding and said, okay, like, what do I need to do to get past this? My very first step was just figuring out what I was doing. Like, what was I realistically doing on a daily basis? That's called auditing. And auditing is, or can be, such a scary word. But an audit is just assessing the realities and identifying the inconsistencies. And so if you look at it like that and say, okay, I'm going to audit my time and say, what am I doing, in my work day? If I feel like that I have to do things, or I have to work 10, 12-hour days, what am I doing during that time that is not pushing me to the next level, or is taking that entire time? What are these activities? And so I was trying to figure out a way, like, to track these things. And I've seen where, you can just write down what you do, or try to keep a log. The very first thing, I'm going to go tech first. So the tool that I use to kind of track where my time was going is it's a free kind of Chrome plugin, but it's also a website. It's called Toggl, TOGGL.com. And I use Toggl since I was doing a lot of work on the computer, as I switched from project to project, I use Toggl to track, okay, how much time am I spending on this? How much time am I focusing on this one thing, and am I making progress? So the good thing about Toggl is that it sends you a report at the end of the week on how you spent your time. So if you are really good about tracking what you're doing and switching, different activities, or putting in, like, I had to go out and do this, I had to hop on a call for this, this is how long this took, you will be able to see at the end of the week the amount of productivity or productive activities you were doing throughout your week. So Toggl breaks everything down. If you use the same, say you're working with a particular client, or you're working on admin tasks, if you say, or if you type in the same task, like admin task, admin task, admin task, at the end of the week, it'll say you spent 5 hours on admin tasks. So I really like Toggl for that. I like that you get emails at the end of the week with this comprehensive overview of the time that you've tracked this week. And also, if you accidentally leave the Toggl running, it's not going to cut off, but it'll send you an email saying, hey, you left your timer running. I've had to use that a couple times. The last time I opened it, one of my timers was running for 300 hours, but it's fine because that was over the weekend. It was like from Friday to Monday. So it's fine. It's fine.
we're here now. So toggle.com is one of the ways that I try to audit my time and figure out what it is I'm working on, and then think, okay, are these getting me to the next level? Am I being productive in these activities? Another way, obviously, that I'm tracking my time or tracking what I'm supposed to be doing is with the planner, Equipreneur Planner. I have been using this sample strategically, intentionally, doing my best to use this planner because it's a planning system that should not be overwhelming, but it also provides you the flexibility to put in what it is you need to do on a weekly, monthly basis, and be intentional about getting it done. So when you compare what you should be doing, if you use a planner intentionally, to what it is you actually do by using a time tracker like Toggle, you can see where there may be discrepancies and say, okay, I was supposed to be doing this day. I had a call and the call ran long, or I had this task that I needed to do. I thought it was going to take me an hour per toggle. I worked on it for an hour and 45 minutes. You can actually begin to conceptualize where the struggles lie. You know, if you have a call that is scheduled for 15 minutes, like my clarity calls, 15 minutes, how can Black Unicorn Creative work best with you? I had a call that I was on for 25 minutes, and comparing what I put in the planner to what I've tracked on Toggle, that's telling me, okay, when you do these clarity calls, you are not being conscious of the time that you're spending on it. The agreement when someone schedules those calls is that you get 15 minutes. And so when you don't adhere to those boundaries that are put in place for a reason, that's when you start to get out of balance. That's when you start to say, I didn't have enough time, because it's because you allowed that overstep in boundaries, in timing. That's for Zoom calls, meetings, all of these things. At some point, it's okay to say, like, sorry, in my day, I allocated an hour for this meeting. We're going on an hour and 5 minutes. Is there anything else we need to wrap up before we go? The rest can be put in an email, something like that. Having these boundaries and actually learning how to enforce them. You don't have to be impolite, but say, hey, I planned this week out, because planning is so important. I planned this week out. This is how much time I have for this in order to make sure I get everything else done. So this is what we need to stick to.
As a professional in the horse industry, we are always looking for ways to improve our craft. As a business owner, it's our goal to build a business that supports our dream lifestyle. That's why I developed the Equipreneur Planner. This planner is a snapshot of your business, from your offers to your online marketing. Whether you're looking to stand out in an oversaturated market or you need to audit your current business operations, this planner has the resources to guide you in that process. After spending an entire year developing this signature planning system, I've made it available to equine entrepreneurs just like you. Give yourself permission to change your life. Go to www.blackunicorncreative.com/planner to sign up for the waitlist.
So that is the second tool I use, specifically the Equipreneur Planner, but you can use any planner that you have. I will say I use Google Calendar, but I don't like using it to put in all of my activities. One, because I used to work at an animal hospital, and when you saw all of the blocks in the schedule and there was no blank space, it meant, you might not have a lunch break. You might not have a chance to pee. There might be a hit by card coming in with a blocked cat and a seizure, and somebody from doggy daycare that got bit. Like, there's so many things that could be happening when you see the schedule at the animal hospital full. So I don't like reinventing that in my life. I don't like reinventing that on my Google.
I get it. You operate a business in the horse industry and you know you need to be online to grow your business, but you're overwhelmed at the process and you might not even have an idea where to start. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're listening to the Digital Hoofprint Podcast, a podcast that shares strategy, resources, and motivation for you to grow your horse business online. My name is Abriana, and I am a business coach, brand strategist, and designer that works with equine entrepreneurs who are struggling with their online presence. I transform great horse businesses into industry unicorns. And if you're listening to this podcast, you must be ready to establish your digital hoofprint. Whether you're listening to this while cleaning stalls or after a long day working horses, I'm breaking down this process into digestible nuggets so you can take them and apply them to your business today. Thanks so much for listening again, and let's get into today's episode.
Calendar. Also with that, even if I say, this is the time to work on this project, or this is the time that I'm going to do this, if somebody wants to schedule a clarity call with me, it's going to completely block out those times. And I have the ability to be flexible enough to say, okay, if I need to take this 15-minute call in between this time allotment, I can. So I don't use my Google Calendar to time block everything, but between using my planner and then tracking what I'm doing on Toggle, I can see what did I plan to do and what I actually do. Another tool that you can use to assess this kind of where your time is going. I know that a lot of us spend a good bit of time on social media. It might not be whether it be posting and trying to engage, or just, checking in on your people at the end of the day. A lot of phones nowadays, I was looking for my phone and I'm recording on it. A lot of phones nowadays, I know, even iPads, things like that, they'll do a screen time tracking. So I know it's on Android, and I know it's on iPhones and iPads. And then I can see it on my Mac as well. But you can track your screen time, and you can see how long you've been in particular apps on the phone, how many unlocks you've had. You can see all that information. That is data that's collected all the time. What they do with that data, I'm not sure. But you can take a look at that data and say, all right. They send a weekly push notification that says, your screen time increased by 12% this week. And sometimes it even has areas where you could, or ways to reduce that screen time. But you can take a look at that and say, okay, preaching to the choir here, okay? All right, I spent this much time, on Facebook this week. And be honest with yourself. Like, this is truly about honesty. This is objective. This is no judgment. This is the data that you need to collect to make better decisions about trying to achieve this work-life balance in your life. Be honest and say, could I use that time to do something else? Were there things that I didn't do on my to-do list that I could have used the time that I was spending on my phone, or, doom scrolling on TikTok? Everybody knows that once you get into TikTok, it's like the next hour is just like not accounted for. Were there places where I could have spent my time doing something different, as opposed to scrolling. You know, you can even challenge yourself to say, all right, I'm going to set my screen time goal at this amount. Or what I used to do on my phone was setting time limits on apps, like an hour a day on this app. And then afterwards, I couldn't click on the app anymore, or I would have to go all the way into the settings and override it if I needed to. So if you know that you have an issue, if your screen time is, 12, 15, 20 hours a week, then if it is not productive or not a revenue generating activity, then you might want to help yourself set some boundaries so that you can focus on the things that are the most important. So those are the 3 kind of tips or resources that I have for when you are trying to audit the time that you have and say, all right, I'm having this feeling that I don't have enough time. Life is passing me by. We are literally headed into Q4. Like next week is Q4. And I'm scrambling. I do not have enough time. I am trying to get stuff ready for winter. I am trying to get stuff ready for the holidays. I am trying that kind of overwhelm that kind of starts in your chest and like works your way up. That is when you know that these things are in balance. And tracking your time, using a planner to plan your time, and comparing the plan versus the reality. And if you spend a lot of time on your phone, understanding the screen time and the how much time you spend on different apps or doing different things, those things can really help you at least get a picture of, all right, I feel like I'm scrambling, but I don't know why. Okay, this is why. And identifying those things, this is called a time audit, is going to help you get to the next step. Like, what can I do to fix this? What can I do to alleviate this? What kind of support do I need to change this? Who do I need to hire to fix this? What do I need to change in my policies, in my boundaries, in my understandings with my clients and my customers? What needs to change so that this brewing, this imbalance, this frustration, this resentment, so that goes away. And so that is my very first suggestion in this life work balance series. This is going to be posted on the podcast, the Digital Hoofprint podcast, as well as some interviews with other professionals in the horse industry on how they produce or they manage or try to achieve life work balance in their positions. And also kind of in this same bubble of just content blitz, because I'm just feeling really creative. I don't think I told you why. Let me tell you why. So, I told you I wanted to sit down and write all this stuff out at the beginning of September, but I felt kind of hypocritical because I was working 12-hour days. And I took some time. I had some travel time. I went to New York. I literally was traveling from Thursday to the following Friday. I was not home. I was farm sitting, I got to see all these kinds of things in New York. I got to experience, just so much. Got to do the book author party at Gallup NYC, which is a very, very nice and impactful therapeutic writing academy in New York. I got to interview someone for my other podcast. Like, it was amazing. It was amazing. And it was experiencing that travel time, that kind of just away, that release, that living that inspired me to continue to make this series, even though it's been like 20 days since I first mentioned it. And so that is why I'm coming and I'm putting this stuff together, because I know that Q4 is a really difficult time for people, and it's a great time. There's a potential to make lots of money because consumers plan to spend a lot of money at the end of the year. But it is still added stressor, and a lot of times people feel imbalanced because of that. So there are different interviews and Instagram lives. I'm doing Instagram lives with Brittany Chambers of Brittany Chambers Horsemanship. She is producing some courses and curriculum around starting a lesson program. So you'll hear about that in just a little bit. Podcast interviews are going up, as well as an email challenge. I have not done an email challenge ever with my email list, and we're going on over a year of activity. So this email challenge is the Life Work Balance email challenge, and it starts on Monday, goes from Monday to Friday. And each day you're going to get an email with tips, any additional resources, and like tasks for you to identify where your issues lie, figure out what resources and support you need to put in place to alleviate that, and then assess how you feel at the end. Granted, you can't just completely change your life in a week, but it's going to spark some conversation and spark some things that you may not have thought about, so that you can work towards these things as the year ends. And so at the end of the email challenge, anyone who's still interested will receive an invitation to a Q4 planning party that I'm holding the evening of October 2nd. It's probably going to be around 6 or 7. And so if you want to participate in the email challenge, you can go to blackunicorncreative.com/LWB, Life Work Balance, LWB. Pop your email in there and be prepared to get the emails on Monday to start this challenge. Again, thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions about this time audit situation, pop them in my inbox, pop them DMs, PMs, whatever the platform calls it. Let me know, and I can't wait to drop these episodes. All right, bye y'all.
Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as I enjoyed putting it together. Don't forget, subscribe to this podcast, as well as leave a review and let us know how this episode has helped you in your horse business. Don't forget to connect with us over on social media, Facebook or Instagram at Black Unicorn Creative. See you guys on the next episode.